Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I think we got ourselves into a bit of a bind. So for those of you who've been missing it, the news since, what random year? 2014, was that the market was waiting for a Bitcoin exchange traded fund. You know the whole story. We had to wait an entire year. Excuse me. We had to wait 9 years of constant rejections from the US SEC and old man Gensler before Grayscale decided to sue them. Grayscale won the lawsuit and they allowed the Bitcoin ETFs to go through. I assumed that it would, we'd kind of all hold hands in kumbaya over the thing that we got. But lo and behold, everyone was like, nope, let's go a step further and let's continuously talk about Ethereum ETFs. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know if it's going to, oh wait, it also happened as well. The major news of the last couple of days, it's been sprinkled around, and it's not like really a sprinkle. You know, like when you're trying to like season your food, but like you look and you're like, I put like a little bit too much. It's kind of like that. That's all over the place. Is now the expectation of the next steps of Ripple and when there's going to be an XRP ETF. We recently had news from the CEO of, almost said Goggle, of Ripple. I don't know why I was thinking. Anyway, Brad Garlinghouse, who said, much like Thanos, that an XRP ETF is inevitable. It is going to happen, and it's just basically around the corner. At this year's Money 2020 Europe conference, held between the 4th and 6th of June in Amsterdam, Ripple President Monica Long gave an interview to Arjun Kapral, CNBC's senior technology correspondent, during which she provided a comprehensive, overview of Ripple's strategic initiatives and the evolving landscape of the cryptocurrency market. The discussion covered the increasing institutional interest in crypto, the launch of a US dollar stablecoin, and the potential for spot XRP ETFs in the US of A. Without having to spend 38 million hours on this, for those of you who don't know, Ripple is going to be launching a US dollar stablecoin on the XRP blockchain. A lot of people have a lot to say about it. They wonder if they're still going to be using XRP. As far as we understand, you know how like people still use Ether, even though there's Tether on top of it? It's basically going to be that kind of situation. Apparently, there's a huge amount of demand for stable coins on top of XRP. And when the stable coin is used, it's also going to burn XRP in the background just to make everyone happy at the exact same time. And the idea apparently is, so saith the news that we've been getting, that apparently sometime next year, no one knows for certain, is that apparently XRP is also going to have ETFs attached to its name. And this is also meant to happen at the exact same time that the stablecoin is launched, that Ripple goes public, and that the lawsuit SEC versus XRP ABC also ends as well. Long highlighted the significant influx of institutional interest in the cryptocurrency space. She noted entities like BlackRock, Ethereum ETF, tokenization. According to Long, tokenization is emerging as a critical trend among traditional financial institutions. She mentioned that major banks, including Société Générale, are leading efforts to tokenize various securities such as bonds and equities. Stablecoin market, $160 billion, could be worth $3 trillion in the next 4 to 5 years. And the article just kind of keeps on going, like it almost doesn't end. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. So awesome. Fantastic. Ripple's doing great. Ripple's doing things. I would love if every day didn't become an XRP ETF kind of day, simply because it's probably going to take a while. Whenever the lawsuit ends, we heard from Ripple before, that's when they go public. I assume they're having discussions with with Gary Gensler, excuse me, there aren't regulators, with just Gary Gensler right now as to when or if they can launch their own stablecoin, because Lord knows they want to classify that thing as a security ASAP. What else is there? And yeah, at some point, logically, we are going to have a Litecoin, an XRP, maybe Cardano, ETFs as well. And then, everyone can be happy, except for that people will then be looking for a Dogecoin one. And oh gosh, can you imagine what madness would enter the cryptocurrency market if we heard that there was a Dogecoin or a Shiba Inu ETF? I don't even want to think about it. Like, I think people would actually lose their minds in the streets. Anyway, that's one of the popular news stories. Everyone keeps on bringing it up. We're probably a year and some change away. I also would not even wait for 2025. Maybe sometime down the road. As I've mentioned before, Ripple's doing amazing things, and they're working with central banks and, all that kind of stuff. So don't sit there constantly trying to be reliant on the idea of an ETF for every single coin news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in incredibly popular news, the Thailand Securities and Exchange Commission has approved the country's first spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund. This move marks a significant step forward, mainstream adoption, providing investors. The approval of this ETF is expected to have wide-reaching implications for both the local and global crypto markets, signaling institutional confidence and regulatory support, yada, yada, yada. It's not regulatory support. What's happening is that the money's too big to ignore. For those of you who don't know how the world works, it's not politicians who make the laws. It's the people with the money who tell the politicians what to put forward to make the laws. That's also not tinfoil hat. That is just simply the reality of the planet that we live on. So the problem is that a lot of institutions for years continued to, dare I say, ignored us. And the problem is that BlackRock and Fidelity swooped in, and they're literally making billions of dollars from the space. And the problem is that if you had any other skeptical country or institution or what have you, they know that now is no longer the time to actually be skeptical. And that's their fault. That's them constantly waiting. And I mean, we've had this. This has been a discussion since 2017, 2018, where I was saying the problem is going to be in the future is that a lot of these countries did no research and had no desire to do so. If you control the printing of money, if you control the masses, and the masses have to do what you say, and at some point you hear that there's a new digital currency or a market that you have no control over, you make sure to talk as negatively about it as possible, assuming it's going to disappear. So not only did you not make money, the country didn't make money, and also your citizens didn't make any money. So as we move rapidlier and rapidlier into this world where Bitcoin continues to rapidlier also take over the financial world, we're having all of these countries one by one announcing that now, completely out of nowhere, that they've approved ETFs. It has nothing to do with the country. It has nothing to do with people. It is literally companies and organizations. If you ever get a chance Look up the documentary. I mean, it's like a video from maybe from Vice. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It's called something along the lines of like the families that own South Korea. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there are a lot of countries where like the richest people kind of decide everything that's going on, and this is what we're seeing. So it's not like these SECs and these countries allow. Oh, now's the moment where we can trust and support Bitcoin. It's like, no, they realize that they could have made tons of money a long time ago. And this is just where they currently are. The SEC has endorsed One Asset Management, ONEAM, as the first firm to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF in Thailand, targeting wealthy and institutional investors. What? No, that's crazy. I can't believe that. Only rich people. Yeah, for those of you who also don't know how much of a lot of this works. And it's terrible. Why do we accept the way that things are? A number of years ago, I found out just how icky a lot of the world was. And I have to use the word icky because there's a lot of other words I'd like to throw in there. But remember back in 2017, 2018, for those of you who missed it, a lot of countries began to announce that they were going to legalize Bitcoin. But they said that the only people who would have access to Bitcoin were wealthy people. And I was like, well, that clearly has to just be one country. Nope. The way that it's also been working, if you haven't noticed, and in a lot of other places as well, when these banks and institutions and etc. are getting into Bitcoin and into ETFs, they make sure to always announce for the first half of a year and or a year, they're only allowing wealthy people access to these things. Essentially making sure that their friends sit at the table, get full, and any crumbs, I mean literal crumbs, like actual Satoshis that are left over, that's when these funds and other things end up opening up to the rest of the world. So cool. This was actually incredibly popular news. The name of the game now is just the letters ETF. People continue to, and probably always will, forget that we had a market before ETFs actually existed. They saw Bitcoin pumping, and now everyone assumes that everything has to have the letters ETF attached to it. It's a bit of a shame, but how else do we quickly get to a $3.5 million Bitcoin? So cool. It's nice to see that countries are doing what's right, and this has nothing to do with making a lot of money. We had 3 other countries the last couple of weeks who have also been announcing their foray into the space. I wish and hope that one day we live on a planet where things are actually equal, and the first people who get dibs at brand new anything, especially Bitcoin ETFs in their countries, are the people who need it the most, who would benefit from Bitcoin going from 70,000 to 3.5 million, and not the people who are already wealthy. I know someone disagrees, but I like to help people. That's the Thailand has approved their first spot Bitcoin ETF. I assume it will not be the last. If this ETF does well and money begins to flow, we will definitely hear about it in the news because that's how the news works. That's the Thailand Bitcoin ETF news. Okie dokie. Let's move on. So this one actually shocked me because Coinbase tends to be a stand in the corner kind of gal. In a recent filing, Coinbase has made sharp accusations against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission and its chairman, Gary Gensler, claiming that their actions are aimed at stifling the cryptocurrency sector. What? The filing comes amid an ongoing legal battle between Coinbase and the SEC, which alleges that the exchange engaged in unregistered sales of what regulators call securities. So, since Coinbase has been around since I think 2013, 2014, to the best of my knowledge, the idea of what a security is, I believe, is from the 1920s. Yup, it's 100-year-old law before we even had internet. Nonetheless, phones. And what's that thing that you would like wind up with your hand to make music? Gramophone? Yup, around that time. So as long as Coinbase has been out, there was never a discussion of an unregistered security. It just did not happen, wasn't a thing. Until around 2016, when Ethereum was launching, because they had a pre-sale and yada yada. In 2017, Bitcoin maximalists came out of the woodwork and basically learned a new term, unregistered securities. Where they learned this from, your guess is as good as mine. But they began to claim that XRP was an unregistered security. And part of the issue is that monkey see, monkey do, and a lot of these people, and if not 80% of the cryptocurrency space, began to point fingers at other coins, claiming that every other coin was a security. What they didn't realize is that Gary Gensler was listening quite intently, as the Grinch does, and it was like, okay, if everyone else considers every other coin securities, I'm going to consider every other coin a security as well. And that's when everyone was like, zip, everyone got really, really quiet because they realized that they had basically stepped on their own foot. That's a nice way of saying that. And since then, once again, Coinbase has been around for, I believe, more than a decade. The SEC, on their rampaging, frothing path, announced that apparently crypto exchanges have been doing evil since they first came to inception, which also makes no sense because you as the regulator would have found this new company and been like, hey, are you compliant? And according to the news, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Binance, and every other name has apparently claimed that they have all gone to the US SEC multiple times, called them, emailed them, sent them a bouquet of roses, trying to make sure that they were compliant, and every single time, allegedly, the SEC ignored them. Until they stopped ignoring them and they launched lawsuits against every single crypto exchange. So Coinbase is like, hey, something's not right here. And I mean, Coinbase usually isn't the ruffler of feathers, but what I assume has been going on is they probably tried to settle out of court. The SEC was like, nah, son. And then this is where we currently are. Coinbase's Friday filing highlights the SEC's increasing enforcement action in recent months, suggesting a deliberate effort to undermine the digital asset industry. What? But they're supposed to be the regulators. They can't be corrupt. That doesn't make any sense. They're the people who make sure that everything is perfect for U.S. citizens. Like, making sure that they're in constant contact with... Wait, they didn't do that. Making sure that they call... The way they also do that. Making sure that... So the SEC has been absolutely horrible in basically everything that they've been doing. I'm sorry. I take all of that back. But the problem is that, they have the chance to call these companies and actually give regulations. Oh, what's that? Oh, Gary Gensler said no a couple of months ago. Yeah, for those of you who missed that as well. Gary Gensler basically, I'm not joking, he went on TV and he said all of these crypto exchanges know exactly what they're doing. While the crypto exchanges were like, we've never had proper conversations and no one from the SEC is talking to us. So who do you think I believe more? Yeah, exactly. The exchange accuses the SEC of advancing inconsistent and unsupportable legal claims and of perpetuating, SAT word, an aggressive campaign against the industry. Coinbase contends that the SEC denies its duty to make compliance with rules feasible, treating regulations as a stick to dismantle disfavored industries rather than enabling compliance with federal law. So understand that there's a lot at stake. And this is something that I think people in crypto all the time forget. All the time. Not some of the times, all the times. The world is built in favor of those who already have money. Not those who are trying to make money, but those who are in these privileged areas already. You know who they are. Upon hearing that a new system is being created and or being made, that would or could potentially benefit billions of people on the planet, which is the exact opposite of the current system that we have right now, of course is going to ruffle a number of feathers. We heard years ago from old man Gensler that if they allowed Bitcoin ETFs to go through, there would literally be madness and chaos in the financial world. You must remember, this was 2019. And that's when Canada and like 4 other countries got their own ETFs. And I was looking at the sky, and there was no fire falling from above us. And I was like, but Gary Gensler, what do you mean? When you hear the billionaires, and there's one in particular, he's about 138 years old now, the head of Berkshire Hathaway. When you hear these people calling Bitcoin nonsense, they know what it is. Bitcoin is made for the people. Do you understand that? Bitcoin is not made for billionaires. I would also even extend that olive branch lightly over to Ethereum. The world is meant to use Bitcoin as a form of currency and or simply an exchange of value. It's meant for 8 billion people. The issue is that when you talk about 100 million people are using Bitcoin, remember I told you there's $1 trillion plus in Bitcoin. Billions of dollars are flowing into the Bitcoin ETFs. These people are choosing to put their money into Bitcoin instead of the US dollar, a US dollar savings account. They're not putting it into Tesla. They're not putting it into Berkshire Hathaway. They're not putting it into Amazon. They're choosing to have a new form of currency because they believe in it more with an ever-inflating US dollar. So when you have people choosing the new system, the people who the old system benefited, they're going to have a very difficult time. This is why, remember Jamie Dimon, that the head of JP Morgan, who keeps saying he's going to stop talking about Bitcoin, but every 4.5 weeks he's on CNBC talking about how terrible Bitcoin is. We are not supposed to be in this market. It sounds like a joke, but this market is no longer for us. Rich people have a vice grip on this market and they want it all for themselves. The saddest part is that this has trickled down to the regulators. I don't know the SEC. I can't say for certain. I've never been in a room with any of their conversationalists and the closed door meetings. But when you hear that these multi-billion-dollar companies have continuously said we've been contacting the SEC, trying to get in contact with them so that we can make sure that what we have on our website is compliant and legal and we hear over and over that the SEC is not getting back to them. That is a form of corruption. That is someone behind the scenes who's paying the regulators to not push things forward. Have you noticed how long the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit has gone on? Spoiler, it's 4 years. You want to know the problem? The SEC has not brought forth anything of substance in 4 years for the lawsuit. They've been dragging it along. There have literally been moments of the lawsuit where Ripple said, "Can you please tell us what we have to do?" Remember, the SEC took weeks and wrote back a letter that said, "Sorry, we cannot answer your question at this time." So, when you talk about actual corruption, once again, I can't substantiate anything, but it's weird how Canada, Germany, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Thailand, Australia, who else am I missing? South Korea, everyone got it together really quick. And everyone who wanted an ETF, it took no more than 3 to 6 months. ETFs aren't rare. There are tens of thousands of them. But for some reason, the US SEC has taken their time or just simply has not helped at all when it comes to all of these things. So I have very little hope. Sorry to be the bearer of sadness, but The SEC will always continue to be this way. This is why other companies have been taking them to court, because it seems to be the only way to get an actual answer out of them. So good luck, Coinbase, with all of this stuff. This is probably going to be another multi-year lawsuit over absolute nonsense, because you might also realize during the course of this, the SEC has not once told Coinbase or any other exchange what the problem is. They said you are listing unregistered securities. They haven't said if it's coins. They haven't said if it's products. They haven't said if it's staking. It's simply that you are doing something wrong. And according to Gary Gensler, as he also said, they know what they're doing wrong. So yeah, not the most popular news, but I guess it's just the reality that we're currently facing. It is a gigantic literal shame that this is where we are. But the people who are doing this are the people behind the scenes who are making sure that they stifle the actual innovation. Imagine how different our market would have been if in 2017 the SEC came forward and gave us a list of 17 coins and said these coins are not securities. Why are they not securities? Because they have this many so-and-so validating transactions. They have this many things per second. They have this many so-and-so. And when you look at the computer, it has this many blah, blah, blah. These things, if your coin has this, you are not considered a security. But what happens instead? Over the course of 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, they've taken dozens, not even a baker's dozen. I mean like 50 companies to court. Why? Because the SEC wanted to sue them. The SEC ended up, and I air quote here, winning a lot of the lawsuits because these companies didn't have the money to continue the legal proceedings. And the SEC, not the public, has made millions of dollars from all of these lawsuits. For those of you who missed it as well, the people from Ripple, I think that they've spent, over $100 million on litigation with the SEC in the last 4 years. Not many companies can do that. So the SEC keeps dragging it along as much as they can. And they also, don't forget, the SEC has said that they want Ripple to pay them, $3.3 billion. These people are psychopaths. They don't care about regulating. And also behind the scenes, there's some puppet strings. This is not tinfoil hat. There's someone telling them when and when not to actually allow things through. So when you have a lawsuit from Grayscale against the SEC and you can't influence the judge and Grayscale wins, of course Gary Gensler gets upset. So even after he's no longer the head of the SEC, rumors are November, December, whoever replaces him is just going to be as tyrannical. It just makes, perfect sense, because the last guy was also awful. Remember him? Remember he launched a lawsuit against Ripple on his last day in office? So yeah, we move ever further away, ever further, lightly, from the clutches of the SEC. It's nice to see that crypto continues to thrive and grow in other parts of the world. But if the narrative continues to be we can't move until the US SEC does something, then we're never going to move. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.